Martin Scorsese, Francis Ford Coppola and Woody Allen are three of the most famous and acclaimed film directors. The three men, who all made their mark during the Hollywood New Wave of the 1970s, have directed numerous classics between them and have influenced an entire generation of modern filmmakers. They are living legends who have left their mark on cinema and, remarkably, are still going strong. Allen is not exactly in the mainstream as he used to be, but he has had an astonishing almost one film a year output since the 1970s, and Coppola tends to make an obscure experimental film here and there every now and again. Scorsese by far is the director from the three who has the best longevity, regularly making films that are often laden with awards and Oscars. I don't really have much to say in this video, except, did you know that the three of these titans actually work together on a movie? Imagine that! A film directed by Scorsese, Coppola and Allen. Well, you don't have to imagine, because it actually exists. And if you haven't heard of it, there's probably a very good reason for that, in that it just isn't very good. And also, it isn't technically a film where each director collaborated with each other. It's three separate short films, each around 40 minutes each, directed by each filmmaker and put together as one film. It's called New York Stories, and it was released in 1989. I can't really do a review because it's been years since I've seen it and I don't remember too much of it. But each segment is a Manhattan-based story. Scorsese's focused on a painter who attempts to juggle his work with his love life as the two elements of the man's life clash and crash, and one is destined to suffer in classic Scorsese style. Woody Allen's short is again made in classic Allen vein and follows a neurotic lawyer who has problems with his overly critical mother. He takes his fiancée to see her and she immediately embarrasses him. He tells his therapist that he wishes she would just disappear. And then after the three attend a magic show and the mother is invited on stage to be a part of the trick, she does just that, she disappears. And she is no longer a burden on her son's life. But then she appears in the sky over New York City and reassumes her criticism, only this time with the whole of New York watching. It's mildly entertaining and moderately funny, a decent romp that Allen fans will love. It's not really my kind of thing though, I could live without it. Coppola's segment is really weird, and it does let the side down a bit because it's the only one I'd consider to be a bad film. It follows a schoolgirl who lives in a luxurious hotel, and by the looks of it, she is a lot more intelligent than the adults around her, and she tries to reconcile with her divorced mother and father. It was pretty boring, it was pretty dull, and I remember thinking, what is the point of this after I'd seen it? Because it didn't really seem to serve a purpose. It wasn't funny, it wasn't intense, and it didn't have a good drama. It was just shit. By far the best segment was Scorsese's. That's not just me saying that as a big fan. I'm sure if you check out the film, you'll agree. Nick Nolte gives a terrific performance as an abstract artist who gets what we might call a writer's block days before a gallery exhibition of his works. As the talk clicks down, Nolte's character has to keep his complicated relationship with his assistant, Paulette, alive, who happens to be his former lover. It's a very strange relationship, as Nolte still wants her sexually, but she only wants his tutelage. She dates other people, which makes Nolte furiously jealous. That jealousy floods him with creative juices and gives him the tools he needs to succeed in his works. He pours all his feelings, his anxieties, his anger, all of it into his paintings, and he just about manages to stop Paulette leaving on numerous occasions. The two are basically using each other, and eventually Paulette does leave, and Nolte meets another young, attractive woman at the art exhibit, persuading her to become his assistant, and you realise that this entire process is going to be repeated. And the painter's success at his art comes at the expense of his personal life. In fact, the destruction of his relationship with his female companions is the fuel to his success. It reminds me of Scorsese's Raging Bull, where Jake LaMotta's rage and ego, the very thing that gave him success in the ring, was the same thing that destroyed his life outside of it. There's an intrinsic loneliness that the painter has that is reminiscent of the great Scorsese characters. I wonder if Scorsese put a little bit of himself in the painter. I'm completely talking without evidence here, but he's so obsessed with his work and has been divorced several times. And I wonder if there is a reflection of Scorsese himself in the painter's nature. The short film is shot with such panache and frantic energy, by the way, with the constantly moving camera that we often see in Scorsese flicks. It's a brilliantly shot film, And while Scorsese's segment, and to a lesser extent Allen's, feel like they were just, messing around, directing rejected scripts that they previously couldn't get off the ground, Scorsese's feels like he took the project very seriously and utilized the short film format to tell a compelling and thought-provoking film. I found it very powerful, and whilst my memories of the other two films are muddled and fuzzy, Scorsese's is impactful even after all these years of watching. The way he captured the struggle of creation and art was like very few movies I've ever seen. So what do you think? Have you seen New York Stories? If so, what did you think of the three movies? Let me know in the comments below, and thanks for watching.